The American housing market is collapsing, quietly, brutally, and city by city. In 2025, some of the most celebrated cities in the United States are facing a brutal truth. The bubble has burst. Home prices are crashing, buyers are vanishing, and homeowners, they're watching their equity evaporate, sometimes by the day. From coastal hotspots to once booming tech hubs, this isn't just a slowdown, this is a full-blown correction. So where is the crash hitting hardest, and is your city next? Stay with us as we count down the top 10 cities in the US where home prices will crash in 2025. And if you care about your future or your money, hit subscribe right now, because at Discover the Nation, we don't hype headlines. We reveal the truth behind the trends.
Number 10. Tucson, Arizona. Tucson was once a desert gem, a city where affordability met opportunity, where sunshine drew new residents by the thousands, and where real estate boomed with promise. But in 2025, that golden glow has dulled into something far more troubling. Prices that once soared by over 50% during the pandemic years are now retreating fast. The market has gone quiet. Listings are lingering. Sellers are slashing prices, some by tens of thousands, just to get a showing. And it's not just pricing pressure. Tucson is grappling with real challenges: intensifying water restrictions, wildfire threats on its outskirts, and spiking home insurance rates that are scaring off once eager buyers. Flippers who once dominated the scene are quietly backing out. First-time homebuyers, already priced out, have simply disappeared. Neighborhoods that buzzed with activity in 2021 and 2022 now feel eerily still. Tucson's crash isn't making national headlines yet, but it will. Because what's happening here is a warning, and it mirrors what's unfolding across dozens of American cities. So don't just watch, subscribe to Discover the Nation, because this housing story, it's only just beginning. Number 9. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh is the comeback story of the Rust Belt, a city that turned its steel town past into a new tech-driven future. But in 2025, that upward trajectory has hit resistance, and fast. The city that once welcomed remote workers, young professionals, and real estate investors with open arms is now struggling to hold its ground. Listings are rising steadily, faster than buyers can keep up. Inventory has ballooned across both the city and surrounding suburbs. The bidding wars that once sparked above listing offers, gone. Prices are slipping, especially in aging neighborhoods where demand is dried up. And those tech jobs that briefly revived the local market, many are stabilizing, consolidating, or moving elsewhere. What's worse is the psychological shift. Buyers are nervous, they're waiting, and sellers, unsure how far things could fall, are being forced into price cuts that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. Pittsburgh is still proud, still promising, but in housing, it's in trouble. And if it can happen here, in a city with such a strong recovery story, it can happen anywhere. Stay ahead of the fall. Tap that subscribe button and let Discover the Nation guide you through what's coming next.
Number 8. Denver, Colorado. Denver rose like a rocket. Fueled by tech migration, remote work freedom, and mountain town lifestyle envy, it became one of the hottest housing markets in the country. From 2020 to 2022, home prices climbed with no ceiling in sight. But in 2025, that rocket has stalled, and it's coming back down. Affordability in Denver is now among the worst in the entire Mountain West. Sky-high HOA fees, relentless property tax hikes, and home values that far outpace local income have made this market fragile, and buyers know it. New listings are up nearly 40% compared to last year. Inventory has surged. Price reductions are no longer occasional, they're standard. Even in high-demand neighborhoods like Highlands, Capitol Hill, and Cherry Creek, sellers are facing brutal realities. Fewer offers, lower bids, longer waits. The buyer pool is thinning, investors are pulling out, and the optimism that once surrounded Denver's real estate scene is being replaced by hesitation and fear. This isn't just a correction, it's a fracture in the foundation. And if you're watching this unfold, don't look away. Subscribe now to Discover the Nation, because we're breaking down the next wave of housing shocks, city by city, in real time.
Number 7. Seattle, Washington. Seattle was once the crown jewel of the Pacific Northwest, a tech titan's playground, a cultural capital, and a real estate goldmine. But in 2025, the shine has started to fade. This is no longer just a market cool-down. It's a full-blown housing reversal. The city is seeing one of its most significant real estate downturns in over a decade. Median home prices have slipped 12 to 18% from peak, and the momentum isn't slowing. Once coveted neighborhoods like Capitol Hill, Ballard, and Queen Anne are seeing longer days on market and more frequent price reductions. High mortgage rates have priced out young tech professionals, and with major layoffs from companies like Amazon and Microsoft in recent months, demand has stalled. The once endless migration into Seattle, it's tapering off. Investors are backing away. Sellers are holding out, but buyers aren't biting. Even in luxury high-rises downtown, units are sitting unsold. And as city taxes rise and urban policies tighten, more residents are quietly relocating to the suburbs or out of state. Seattle isn't crashing overnight. It's sliding, week by week, listing by listing. And if you think a top-tier tech city is safe from a housing correction, think again. Subscribe now to Discover the Nation and stay ahead of what's coming next, because the cracks you're seeing in Seattle may just be the beginning.
Number 6. Cape Coral, Florida. Cape Coral was once a paradise for transplants. Sunshine, open spaces, waterfront homes, and a cost of living that seemed too good to be true. But in 2025, that dream is unraveling. This former pandemic boomtown is now one of Florida's most vulnerable housing markets. And the culprit? Insurance. Homeowners here are facing the harshest premium hikes in the state. In many cases, annual costs for flood and hurricane insurance have now exceeded mortgage payments. Some residents are being dropped entirely by carriers. Others are forced to pay tens of thousands just to remain insured. Buyers have taken notice, and they're walking away. Nearly 1/3 of all listings in Cape Coral have already slashed their asking prices. Homes that once sparked bidding wars are now lingering unsold for weeks or even months. The flood of eager new arrivals from the Midwest and Northeast, that wave has slowed to a drip. And Cape Coral, as beautiful as it may be, is now one major storm or insurance policy shift away from a full-scale housing collapse. Florida is changing, and fast. If you're buying, selling, or even thinking about entering this market, do not move forward blind. Subscribe now to Discover the Nation, because Florida's unraveling story is far from over, and Cape Coral is only the beginning.
Number 5. Oakland, California. Oakland rode the Bay Area boom for over a decade, a city once seen as the grittier but more affordable cousin to San Francisco. It drew in investors, remote workers, and tech transplants looking for opportunity, culture, and proximity to the Silicon Valley machine. But in 2025, that story has changed, and fast. Home prices in Oakland are down more than 20% from their peak, making it one of the hardest-hit housing markets on the West Coast. The crash isn't subtle. It's visible block by block. Listings are flooding the market. Open houses are growing quiet. The buzz that once surrounded downtown is fading. Investor demand has dried up almost entirely. Remote workers, who once made up a sizable share of the buyer pool, have packed up and left, many seeking safer, more stable ground.
And rising crime rates? They're no longer just headlines, they're deal breakers. Once seen as a safety net when San Francisco grew too expensive, Oakland has become one of the riskiest cities to hold property in all of California. And now the data is catching up with the feeling in the air. Vacant storefronts, reduced foot traffic, and rising inventory have created a feedback loop of economic stress. Schools are underfunded, tax revenue is falling, and local government struggles to respond to a shrinking tax base and expanding need. What we're seeing isn't just a dip, it's the early stages of a deeper correction, one that could take years to recover from. If you're thinking about buying in the Bay Area, or you're holding on to a property here, subscribe now to Discover the Nation. What's happening in Oakland is not isolated, and we'll show you which city could be next. Number 4. New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is a city of culture, soul, music, and history. But in 2025, it's also a city deep in housing distress. This is no longer about fluctuations in the market, it's about fundamental instability. The insurance industry in Louisiana is in crisis. Major carriers are pulling out, premiums are spiking. And in New Orleans, the flood risk is no longer theoretical, it's a constant threat, weighing down every mortgage, every appraisal, and every decision to buy or sell. Some neighborhoods have seen home values fall by as much as 15 to 18%. That's not a correction, that's a collapse. Infrastructure problems, decaying road systems, and overburdened utilities are only accelerating the exodus. And now even lenders are getting nervous. Banks are tightening lending standards, appraisals are coming in lower than ever, and insurance premiums are turning deals into dead ends. New Orleans has faced hurricanes and hardship before, but this time, the storm is financial, and it's moving silently through paperwork, policies, and disappearing confidence. What makes this collapse even more dangerous is how invisible it feels from the outside. Tourists still pour into Bourbon Street, events still fill the French Quarter, but behind the scenes, thousands of residents are considering selling, relocating, or walking away altogether. The affordability crisis is colliding with a risk crisis, and the result could reshape the city's demographics for years to come. Whether you live in Louisiana or just want to understand what happens when natural disaster risk collides with economic fragility, subscribe now, because this case study might be tomorrow's reality for your city.
Number 3. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix was once the poster child of pandemic real estate, a booming desert market fueled by remote work, low taxes, and massive migration. But in 2025, that boom has turned into a balancing act, and it's collapsing under its own weight. Builders are slashing prices, offering incentives, delaying new construction. Across suburbs like Mesa, Gilbert, and Chandler, listings have exploded. The oversupply is real, and it's growing faster than the demand can keep up. Median home prices are falling, mortgage applications are dropping, and water, once abundant and taken for granted, has become a top concern. The looming crisis over Arizona's water supply is finally hitting home for buyers, appraisers, and even insurance providers. And then there's the cost of risk. Home insurance in Phoenix is climbing year over year, with extreme heat, drought conditions, and fire zones making underwriters nervous. It's not just a desert dream anymore. It's a financial minefield. The American Southwest is entering a massive correction, and Phoenix is at the center of it. And the signs are multiplying. Construction delays, canceled contracts, and real estate investors backing away from what was once the safest bet in the West. Areas that were selling within 48 hours in 2021 are now sitting for 45 days or more. It's not just price drops, it's a fundamental cooling of buyer sentiment. With economic pressure mounting and infrastructure costs growing, many in Phoenix are now asking, how long before this bubble fully bursts? Stay ahead of it. Subscribe now to Discover the Nation and follow every shockwave before it hits your market next.
Number 2. Miami, Florida. Miami is flashy. Palm trees, private towers, rooftop pools, and neon nights. But beneath the luxury, beneath the glass towers and beachside mansions, lies a housing market on the edge of collapse.
In 2025, climate risk is no longer theoretical. It's measurable, tangible, and it's driving serious consequences. Insurance premiums have doubled and in some zones tripled for homeowners trying to protect their coastal investments. For many, it's no longer about price per square foot. It's about survivability, risk, and liability. Luxury condos in Brickell, South Beach, Edgewater, and downtown are sitting unsold for months. Developers are quietly lowering pre-sale prices, and international buyers, once the fuel behind Miami's luxury boom, are stepping back or walking away completely. Even rental yields are under pressure. New regulations, mounting repair costs, and rising sea levels have created a cocktail of risk that's scaring off even seasoned investors. From Coral Gables to North Beach, the glamour is still here, but the buyer demand? It's evaporating. Slowly, then all at once. What's happening in Miami is the beginning of something bigger. A city redefining what it means to own near water in a warming world. Keep watching. Subscribe now for more deep dives into Florida's unraveling housing story, because Miami may be the first, but it won't be the last. Number 1. Austin, Texas. Austin was unstoppable. Fueled by tech giants, hip culture, remote work migrations, and surging investor money, the city transformed almost overnight. From 2020 to 2022, home prices skyrocketed over 70%. Everyone wanted a piece of Austin, and few asked what would happen when the music stopped. Well, in 2025, it stopped. Prices have fallen over 22% from peak. Inventory has doubled. Builders are offering deep discounts, free upgrades, and even interest rate buydowns, and still, homes are sitting. The frenzy is gone, the momentum reversed. Tech layoffs, remote work downsizing, and a high cost of living have dulled the city's once glowing appeal. Investors who flooded in during the boom are now offloading homes, some at a loss. First-time buyers are priced out by mortgage rates near 7%, and long-time residents, they're angry. The affordability crisis has become a full-blown correction. Even desirable areas like East Austin, Mueller, and South Lamar are seeing price drops and longer days on the market. Austin's housing crash is no longer a forecast. It's unfolding in real time. And the question now isn't if it spreads, it's where to next. What's happening here is a signal, a warning for the rest of America. This is no longer just a correction, it's the new market reality. Subscribe to Discover the Nation and stay ahead of the next market collapse before it hits your hometown.
What we just showed you isn't speculation. This isn't some dramatic what if. This is reality. And it's unfolding across the country, quietly in some places, violently in others. From Tucson to Austin, from Oakland to Miami, the U.S. housing market is in a state of transition. Some cities will stabilize. Others may spend the next decade trying to recover from what's happening right now. If you're buying, selling, investing, or just trying to understand where the market's headed, you need to pay attention. Because where you live matters, but where you buy, that matters even more. We break it all down every week right here on Discover the Nation. No fluff, no hype, just data, truth, and the stories behind America's shifting cities. So if you want to stay informed, stay subscribed. More breakdowns, more cities, more answers, coming soon.